I think let's talk about the Dolphins, guys, because let's assume Dalvin Cook does not go there. Then you have a very wide open backfield that could be a lot of fun if one guy does stand out and stays healthy. And I think it's a little disrespectful to Raheem Mostert that we, harp on the injury situation for him. He did only miss one game last year. So to his credit, first time with a new team and past age 30, he stayed healthy. That being said, we expect him to get hurt. So, if he does miss any time, Jeff Wilson to me is the most intriguing because I think, A-Chain is going to probably be the first one drafted because he's a shiny new toy. And all you're going to hear is about his speed. He's already got one great positive report from OTAs. I think it was in Sports Illustrated. They said he looked just different out there. His speed stood out, amongst the group. But again, shorts and T-shirts. So I want to see if Dalvin Cook does not end up in Miami, what they do, who gets the first carry in the first training camp practice. I really want to see what they do. Is it the veteran, honor roll of Mostert gets the first touch and then Wilson and A-Chain and they sort of work it in that way? Do they give A-Chain the opportunity to be the starter? It's almost similar to the Bears situation. You take the last one of the group and that might end up being the best one of the group. It's almost like what we used to say about the 49ers running backs.
Right. But also you take the last one, you could end up with a group that's just not worth having. Right. Is this one where you say, I'm just going to avoid it? I guess not.
I don't know about you, Jamie, but I really struggle with this group of P. Ryan, A-Chain, Mostert, Wilson, and Charbonnet. I don't know who my favorite is.
That's not fair. First of all, I didn't include the Dolphins in that original question, and P. Ryan was off the board. So what you're taking? Who are you taking first, Charbonnet or P. Ryan?
P. Ryan.
Okay, so P. Ryan would be your favorite. So that question was not answered earlier. All right, let's talk about Rashaad Penny and Dameon Harris. Who do you prefer? They're going back to back right now, 111, 112. Rashaad Penny, Dameon Harris.
I prefer Harris, mostly because I still want to believe in DeAndre Swift. And I know what happens to Rashaad Penny, unfortunately, has been a problem in his career. But I think if Penny ends up being at least in a 50-50 timeshare with DeAndre Swift in the beginning part of the season, he may pull away from Swift if he stays healthy and can have the type of season we've been waiting for him to have because that offensive system is so good. And we saw what Miles Sanders did last year. You don't have to catch a lot of passes to still be a number 2 running back in this team. You don't have to even be the featured goal line option because of what the quarterback does to still be good running back on this team. Now, again, you're probably not going to be a top 5 guy. Adam, you heard that. A top 5 guy. But, you can still be, especially at this value, a top 20 guy. And so Swift has had his own injury concerns. So Penny definitely has the higher ceiling because I think, unless the Buffalo offense changes, which I don't think is going to change, even if Josh Allen does run less, that Dameon Harris is going to morph into this stud running back. He just, I think, is got a chance to be the best Buffalo running back. I would still take James Cook first, but I think Harris could be that guy based on what I think Sean McDermott wants. He wants a physical running back that can move, and that's certainly more so Dameon Harris than it is James Cook.
Yeah, I think I like Penny better just because I think it's more likely that Penny could give me a month of difference making. I think Harris, if I had to bet on who's going to score more total fantasy points this year, it would be Harris. I think Harris is going to have a role and maybe even score 10 touchdowns if they take him away from Josh Allen. But I also think that Harris is going to be kind of a nightmare to decide when to start as long as James Cook is healthy.
For DeAndre Swift to be worth starting, he's going to have more of a running game role. He's going to have more of a role than Gainwell and Boston Scott did last year. When you look at the Eagles, 259 carries for Miles Sanders, and Gainwell had 53 and Scott had 54. Hurts had 165. But Penny, you don't see him dominating carries the way Sanders did, do you? Be more of a split?
Well, I mean, how do you know which one of them is going to get hurt first?
Okay, let's say they're both healthy.
That seems unreasonable.
Week 1, they're both healthy. I mean, Swift is going to eat into Penny's carries more so than Gainwell and Scott did Sanders, I would think.
I don't think you see Gainwell and Scott having a big role if both those guys are healthy, given what their abilities are.
No, that's not. I'm sorry, that wasn't my question. My question is Gainwell and Scott didn't really do anything. Didn't really eat into Miles Sanders' running.
You're saying the backup's eating into the starter. I don't think this is a clear-cut I don't think this is a clear-cut featured guy on this team if they're both healthy.
Right. In other words, Rashaad Penny, if he plays 17 games, will not have 259 carries like Sanders did.
If DeAndre Swift is healthy, yes.
If DeAndre Swift is healthy.
But I think you're going to get probably 150, 120, 100 to 150 carries between those two guys each.
I was trying to do the math on what the other guys had, and that was 6.5 carries a game, it looks like, and 15 carries for Sanders. I bet there are 2 more running back carries and 2 fewer Jalen Hurts carries this year.
Uh-huh.
So maybe it's 13 and 10.
Could be more Jalen Hurts passes, though. But
Yes,
all right, next
I would
up,
think for sure.
let's talk about Elijah Mitchell. He played 6 games with Christian McCaffrey, including the postseason. And in those 6 games, he had, how do I not have this? He had 45 carries, and McCaffrey had maybe around 60. Sorry, I don't have the exact number for McCaffrey, but it was really close. Jamey, what's the sleeper appeal for Mitchell? Is it just handcuff, or is it more than that?
It's a little bit more than that. I think you could see a situation where they run the ball so much and so successfully, especially if the quarterback situation is going to be a little bit dicey early in the season, that there's going to be an opportunity, especially as we saw early in McCaffrey's tenure in San Francisco, that the fourth quarter guy was a little bit more Elijah Mitchell, especially the clock killing options. So it's just, are you ever going to feel comfortable starting him when McCaffrey's healthy? No. But should McCaffrey miss any time, you know what Elijah Mitchell's capable of. We saw it in his rookie season.
I got the numbers wrong. My bad. So Mitchell had 45 carries in the regular season, but he played 6 games with McCaffrey, including 2 postseason games, and McCaffrey only had 5 more carries than Mitchell. I don't know what you guys think about that. It was 67 carries for McCaffrey and 62 for Mitchell. I also don't remember if McCaffrey left the Dallas playoff game with an injury. I feel like he did, but I didn't see anything about it on the Google. But anyway, it was very close. And it wasn't just a garbage time thing. Garbage time was going to Jordan Mason for the most part. So I don't know. Like, does that increase the sleeper appeal of Elijah Mitchell? Does it not matter? We're taking Christian McCaffrey, maybe number 2 overall, maybe number 1 overall.
I think it's kind of like Chubb and Hunt, except if Chubb had taken all the passing downs. Like I think he's gonna have a Kareem Hunt-like role in the running game, and that some weeks that might mean 2 touchdowns. But he's a bye-week replacement unless McCaffrey gets hurt.
Okay. Sorry to cut you off there, Jamey. I want to get to all of your players here. Let's go to your wide receivers. Okay. Just other guys that Jamey likes. He talked about Roschon Johnson, Tank Bigsby, and Jalen Warren as late-round picks. Wide receiver, Gabe Davis. These guys are all outside the top 100. Gabe Davis, Elijah Moore, Quentin Johnston. I don't know where you want to go with this. The Ravens receivers, Sky Moore. We talked about Dobbs. We talked about the Texans. Isaiah Hodgins is basically free. So the highest end ones are Gabe Davis, Elijah Moore, Quentin Johnston, and the Ravens wide receivers, Jamey.
Gabe Davis is the most intriguing to me just because he's still he's basically the same spot he was going into last year, without a lot of competition. I know they added Dalton Kincaid, but you take away what maybe Isaiah McKenzie was going to be, what they're going to get out of the other options there. And I think Davis, the fact that they, at least as of now, don't have a DeAndre Hopkins, another strong outside threat. You've illustrated this better, I think, than anybody, of what he was starting to look like after the foot ankle injury that he sustained in week 1 prior to the elbow injury for Josh Allen. And he had a couple of big spike games. Wasn't a lot of targets, but a couple of big spike games. But he started to get some 6-target games mixed in there as well. And he's not a guy that's going to, consistently get 8+ targets on a weekly basis. But we know he could have a 3-catch, 172-yard game. He did that last year, where he could just completely win a week for you. And so, I think just given the free fall by comparison, he was 60. His ADP last year was 60. And, to Heath's credit, he said he would be a bust, and he was. But I think, again, the cheaper price tag that you're getting for the same player, same role, same quarterback, it's extremely worth your time to invest in Gabe Davis because you can get a guy that can win you a few weeks.
Another one of our sleepers from today's show that I think should be going in round 8. That's going in after pick 100. But yeah, I think he's going to be better than he was last year, and he's still the same guy. Like, there's not anybody they've added that's going to impact his targets, I don't think.
And the Ravens wide receivers, they're all pretty much going, in the same range as Bateman, the first one. That's a little surprising to me. Bateman, Beckham, Zay Flowers is how it's being drafted right now. Actually, was it Matt Harmon who said he really liked Rashaad Bateman? I might be mixing up my Beyond the Box Score guess, but one of our guests really likes Bateman as a, I don't know, post-type sleeper, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, Jamey, who's the one you draft first?
At this point, I would draft Flowers first, but I could see it being Bateman. It's going to be, again, similar to what happens. It's going to be depending on what happens in camp. We're still wanting to see, I think everybody, whether you like him or not, what Beckham looks like coming off a year of missed football, especially with a new team, new quarterback. Flowers is, the one I think that has, I would hope at this point, the most upside just based on what that term means. But Bateman is, a guy that has the most rapport with Lamar Jackson. He's a guy that we were looking at last year as somebody who's going to step into the Marquise Brown role or targets and step up. And he just couldn't stay healthy. He had the foot injury. So the fact that he's healthy now, Lamar Jackson should be given the opportunity based on all the reports and the new coordinator, the chance to throw the ball more. And I think all these guys will benefit. It's, again, very similar to the Packers, Texans, Panthers. There's just not a definite guy that is going to just dominate targets. And again, factoring Christian Watson, but there's an opportunity here to get a guy, if not three, that could compete for 120 plus targets. And why not take a chance on that given the cost?
Yeah, I think if Bateman is healthy, he's really being overlooked because he's basically played one season's worth of games. He played 18 games. One of those games he did not record a stat, played 17% of the snaps. So basically 17 games, 61 catches, 800 yards. If you get 800 yards in your rookie year, Adam, yes, that's just
that's over 2 seasons, but
it's over 17 games.
I thought it was 900 yards.
But like his thing is he's not been able to stay healthy. I think if he's able to stay healthy, he's a first round
Always
pick.
crazy, but always fact. That's just an Azer stat.
that's right.
He could still be every good as the Ravens thought he could be when they drafted him.
It is 900 yards in your rookie season.
Close.
Well, not that close. Give me 30 seconds on Isaiah. Give me 30 seconds on Isaiah Hodgins, Jamey. Give me 30 minutes on Isaiah Hodgins. Actually.
He's going to be an outside receiver for the Giants, and they don't really have a lot of those. And so, between him and Darius Slayton, I think you saw last year that Daniel Jones and Hodgins had a good rapport after he came over to the Giants from Buffalo. And so, again, he's like, pick 221 or something like that? He's in the 200s on ADP right now. Based on the way he finished and what his situation is, I like him better than Slayton, and I think he may end up being the best Giants wide receiver if Wan'Dale Robinson's not healthy.
It does not appear that he has a single drop in his career, and he does not have a ton of catches. He only has 30
I was
seconds.
gonna say,
But that is sort of his reputation. He just catches everything. He's a reliable player, and that is 30 seconds on Isaiah Hodgins. It's
the guy's been in the league.
37 catches
for
without a drop.
3 seasons. He's been in the league for 3 seasons, and he does not have a drop in his career over 37 catches.
2 seasons where he's actually played.
Well, played is tough. He was in one game, and yes, he basically did not play his first 2 years after being drafted.
I think no drops is impressive. I don't know about you.
It really is. Yeah.
But does he have top 5 upside?
I didn't ask. I wouldn't know. And even if I did ask, I still wouldn't know. All right, quarterbacks. We've got 3 of them. I'll separate this into 3 groups. 3 of them going between pick 101 and 110. Goff, Geno Smith, Russell Wilson. Jared Goff, Geno Smith, Russell Wilson. Who's your fave?
Geno Smith is my favorite. For now, Goff is second and Russell Wilson is third. But I think for Geno, it's just he was really good last year, and now he got another new weapon, and hopefully he just builds off of it. Everything out of Seattle has been very positive. The fact that they didn't draft a quarterback, I think, is even more positive given the draft capital that they had. So they believe in him. They added weapons to his receiving core, and I think he could once again be a top 12 fantasy quarterback.
Why Russell Wilson third? I mean, this is the guy who's been on a Hall of Fame trajectory. Now he has a good coach. What do you think?
I think that he looked very bad last year, and even when he got better without Nathaniel Hackett, it wasn't exactly like, oh, I feel so much better about Russell Wilson now, So He's got a lot to prove, but these all three of these guys, based on what two of them have showed, and then what Russell Wilson still has, I think, the potential to do. When you draft an Anthony Richardson, these are easy guys to pair him with. When you miss on quarterbacks, you take two of these guys, and so you can still have a very good season, especially if you decide to wait super flex or 2 QB leagues and say, okay, I'm gonna punt on the position with the first probably 3 rounds. These are guys you can hopefully get starting in maybe late round 3, but round 4, and still feel pretty good about your team.